Hey everyone, and welcome back to my channel. My name is Josh and this is your stimulus check update for the next stimulus package for Sunday, September 6th. I hope everyone is off to a good and safe start to their Sunday so far. In this video I'll be discussing both the first and second stimulus check. I'll also be discussing unemployment, the chances of passing a standalone bill with stimulus checks in it, and then I'll be wrapping up this video by answering some of the comments and questions that I received in my previous video. But first, if you wouldn't mind real quickly liking this video, give me a big thumbs up. It really just helps with the YouTube algorithm in terms of pushing this video out to other viewers like you, and hopefully helping other people like you as well. Okay, so jumping right into it today. I'm going to quickly go over each state's current status as far as the federal unemployment insurance benefits go. Remember, in order to be eligible for these benefits, you must be receiving at least $100 in state unemployment insurance benefits. Additionally, since these funds are being drawn from FEMA's fund and only $44 billion are being used, your state may only be able to send out around 3 to 5 weeks of benefits, with at least 3 of those weeks being guaranteed. Alright, so first up, you'll see on the screen the list of the states that have already started paying out benefits to their residents. These states have been ahead of the curve in every aspect, so I'm very happy for those of you who are already receiving your benefits once again. Now, up on the screen, you'll see the list of the states that have been accepted for the benefits but haven't started paying them out yet. We can only hope that it will be another week or two before the majority of these states begin to start paying out the benefits once again. And finally, here's the list of the states who are still not even approved for the benefits, which is quite a disappointment. Hopefully, it won't be too much longer before they're approved, and once they are, we can only hope they don't take more than a week or two to start sending out the payments. And again, since these benefits are only going to last 3 to 5 weeks for the states, we can only hope that Congress can finally pass a bill to extend these benefits on a longer term, more stable basis. Alright, moving right along to some updates on the next relief package and the second stimulus check. Okay, so apparently we have around $300 billion sitting around an account unused, which of course I'm glad they came to the attention of. I mean, I'm sure if we had only around $300 billion sitting around our homes, we'd surely be aware of its presence. Anyways, so with that money now coming to surface, President Trump is really stepping up to the plate here, and one, going to bat for Americans, and two, making a big political statement. President Trump is now calling on the congressional Democrats to send those $300 billion to Americans in the form of stimulus checks. If you remember, the first round of stimulus payments ended up totaling around $300 billion, so this is perfect. Donald Trump said, quote, "We have $300 billion in an account that we didn't use. I would be willing to release it, subject to Congress, and use that as stimulus money. It's there. Just let that money be released to the American people." Trump said that the $300 billion is sitting in an account that was never needed because things are going so well with the economy. And, of course, much better to send that money to the everyday Americans rather than using that money to bail out more big corporations that mishandled their funds. Now, you might be wondering, if there's $300 billion just sitting around in an unused account, can't the president just issue another executive order rather than waiting around for congressional approval? Unfortunately, no, he can't. The president even said he looked into that option, but that he's not allowed to do that. However, what exactly does this mean? I would say, if the president continues to press this issue, I don't see any way Democrats would reject this idea. Nancy Pelosi and Chuck Schumer have been opposed to a skinny deal in the past, but if they're going to sit there and say, no, we're not going to use that money to send stimulus checks to Americans, then that won't look good at all on their part. And if other Democrats aren't on board with that, how can they possibly expect to win re-election in their states and congressional districts when they voted no on more money to American families? That would pretty much be political suicide on their part if they were to do such a thing. So whether you like Trump or hate him, this was a brilliant political move on his part. Plus, this is how all legislation should take place anyways. Instead of cramming multiple things into one bill, we should just have one piece of legislation in each bill. That way, we can't cram hidden agendas into bills, and it just makes it so much easier to pass things through. Now, what happens if Democrats don't agree to use this money for stimulus checks? Well, in that case, we'll be back to square one once again of trying to find a bipartisan agreement between the Republicans and Democrats, which could unfortunately take a while. At the moment, Democrats wish to spend around $900 billion more than the Republicans do, so each side will have to compromise around $450 billion more each to strike a deal. Now, it was expected that on Tuesday this week, when the Senate returns from their recess, they would be voting on a slimmed down $500 billion bill, but it looks like that may be pushed back to the third week of September. Oh, and by the way, the $500 billion bill that I speak of doesn't include stimulus checks in it. This is basically a bill aimed to get more Republicans on board and gain at least 51 votes and hope to gain some type of leverage in the negotiations. The reason for the delay in this vote is because Texas Senator Ted Cruz is pushing for a $5 billion school choice tax credit. This is something that Cruz has been pushing for a long period of time, school choice. Supporters of school choice, like Cruz, argue that it's important to give parents the resources they need to send their kids away from troubled schools and into private schools as well as homeschool. This proposal by Cruz would more or less provide full reimbursement for donations to state-based nonprofit scholarship funds, which would help families with tuition and other education expenses for private schooling. Other Senate Republicans, however, have argued that if Cruz gets to have his tax credit in the bill, then they should be allowed to insert their tax credits in the bill as well. This would also potentially balloon their slimmed down bill up even more, defeating the whole purpose of it being a skinnier deal. In the end though, none of this really matters. This is a bill that has absolutely no chance to pass, and in the end, Republicans will need to find compromise with the Democrats. And while the unemployment rate does continue to decrease, many people, including Fed Chairman Jerome Powell, say that the recovery will only continue to get harder from here. This is because there are areas of the economy that are still being directly affected by the pandemic, such as the hospitality and service industries. It's quite clear to many economists that additional stimulus is still needed to keep the economy moving in the right direction. We must make sure that American families are taken care of. We must make sure that the largest provider of jobs, small businesses, are well taken care of. And we must make sure that those people who are still unemployed, many at no fault of their own, are still taken care of. All of the beef in the bill, the hidden political agendas, need to be put off. The two sides need to stop being selfish and come together to get something passed for the American people. The games of playing chicken with the lives of Americans has got to stop. None of us want to continue to see these political stunts take place. Take care of the American people. Let's get a bill passed here and now. Okay, so at this point in time, I'm just going to give a quick update on the first round of stimulus payments because unfortunately, there are still way too many Americans who haven't even received their first stimulus check yet, even though it's quite possible Congress may be sending out another round of payments in the next month or so. With that said, let me know in the comment section below if you received your first stimulus check or if you're currently still waiting for it. So, if you still haven't received your first stimulus check, in the meantime, continue to check the payment portal. I've been seeing some people receiving payment dates on Wednesday and Thursday next week through the payment portal, so I would recommend that you continue checking that. As long as you filled out a tax return within the last 2 years, or you started receiving Social Security benefits before this year, then no action is required on your behalf to receive your payment. Now, if you didn't fill out a tax return within the last 2 years, or you started receiving Social Security benefits this year, then it would be required that you fill out the Non-Fathers tool in order to receive your payment. Additionally, if you're on Social Security benefits and never received the $500 for your dependents under the age of 17, then you'll have all the way until September 30th to fill out the Non-Fathers tool if you haven't already done so. Otherwise, unfortunately, you'll have to wait all the way until next year to fill out a tax return to claim your $500 credit. Also, if you're an expat living abroad, if you have a US-based bank, you should have already received your stimulus payment by now. On the other hand, if you have a non-US based bank, you should be receiving your payment very soon if you haven't so already. The IRS started sending out checks to expats living abroad in the middle of August, so they should begin arriving in the next week or two. You definitely want to be on the lookout for that. And finally, if you're still waiting for your first stimulus check, hang in there and try not to drive yourself too crazy. I know it's frustrating, but as long as you're eligible, you will eventually receive your payment. Alright, so at this point in time, I'm just going to answer some of the comments and questions that I received in my previous video. And if you have any other comments or questions for me, feel free to leave them in the comment section below. I do try to answer as many of the comments and questions as I possibly can, but for those comments and questions I'm not able to respond to, I do try to pick some of the more popular ones to answer in the next video in video form. Okay, so without further ado, let me go ahead and jump into the first comment of today's video, which is from Spectre. Spectre says, what's the word on stimulus checks being continuous? Alright, thank you so much for your question, and unfortunately, even though there has been some talks about recurrent stimulus payments, they never really gained too much steam. Joe Biden's running mate, Kamala Harris was one of the key figures leading for a recurring stimulus payment, but not many other Democrats got on board with that plan. In fact, in the House-controlled Democrats' HEROES Act plan, it only contained a one-time $1,200 stimulus payment, so the likelihood of even getting other Democrats on board with that plan are quite slim. Now, other countries have been experimenting with universal basic income, so it's quite possible that our country may see something similar to that in the future, but with anything, there's no guarantees. Alright, moving right along to the next question of today's video, which is from Susan. Susan says, any idea of when we will all receive the stimulus money? Alright, thank you so much for your question, Susan, and unfortunately, there is no official timeline of when we will receive the second stimulus check. If you want my guess, I would say sometime in mid-October. This would be if Congress can get a bill passed in late September or early October, which would mean stimulus checks would be sent out a week or two after that. This, of course, would also be extremely convenient on a political spectrum to have stimulus checks go out a couple weeks before the election. However, again, it's still quite possible they may never end up passing anything. We have to prepare for the worst, but hope for the best. That said, I do still firmly believe that they will pass another bill and that we will end up getting one last stimulus check. Alright, so on that note, I'm going to go ahead and wrap up this video. If you did enjoy the content in this video and you'd like to see more videos like it, please consider subscribing to my YouTube channel. It is completely free to do so and it's a great support to me. Also, if you'd like to receive one free stock from Webull, valued all the way up to $1,600, please feel free to claim that free stock by clicking the link in the description box below. And until next time, I'll see you guys and I hope you have a great day today.